Okay, so we're going to look back at the season that's gone. You've had a bit of time to reflect on it. I know, speaking to both of you in the days after the game, the City Liverpool game away, you a bit down and had the Matt game at home. How are you feeling now you've had time to reflect on not just the last couple of games, but the season as a whole?
Still disappointed. I think it was a huge opportunity for us this season, and I think we, uh, through various reasons, didn't take that opportunity. So disappointed with that, but proud of a lot of what we've done. I think the fact we were better in terms of league position, better in terms of points, better defensively, all testament to the strides we've made. But it'll take me a little while longer to get over it.
And well, looking at the league, the way it's finished, Macclesfield go up. We talked about it through the season, was a guarantee they'd go up being a full-time team, and then Workington, probably the best team that came to Seal Park, you'd say. So probably some justice in the two teams that have gone up in a way.
Yeah, I think Workington probably were the best team we played against. Even the two games we had against them, it were a last-minute winner from Umar won it, and then we led for a large part of the time at home, but they were in a lot of control of that, and then I think finishing 3-1 was probably first. Yeah, I'm happy for Danny and for Workington to get the promotion.
So we'll go back over the season. We had a quite a long pre-season with quite a few games in there, and it seemed like a pretty solid start. You felt comfortable going into it, and then we started with probably two games, probably three games that you wouldn't have wanted as your first three with Workington away, Runcorn Linnets at home, two teams who were fancied, and then Colne away on a Tuesday night. Nobody likes going to Colne on a Tuesday night on the slope, but it'd be not be right to talk about first. Obviously, we'd had a good pre-season, went preparing for Workington, and we got the news about Wiz passing the day before, the night before we'd had that news, and obviously a massive loss to the club, and just everything probably made that Workington game a bit more special afterwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was I think a good time to play Workington anyway, irrespective of that. I think getting up there early in the season on Saturday makes a big difference. But then the emotion, and people talked about the changing room before and after the game, there was that extra little bit of motivation for players to go out there and get something for Wiz. And I thought we were superb that day. I thought we caught them a little bit cold. I thought Danny had just gone back in, and if you look at the side that finished, it's quite different to the side that we beat that day. But I thought we did everything well. I thought we worked tirelessly. We stopped them playing. We created chances, and I thought we were good value for the 1-0. And it was a fitting tribute.
Something about last-minute goals this season as well. At both ends of the pitch, those first three games all had last-minute goals, and then in our favour, but not so great at the end of the season as well, in different ways.
Yeah, no, I think the last-minute goal at Workington were a big win. There were a bit of noise leading up to it about being a free hit or something like that. You wouldn't necessarily want it were a tough start, but the way in which we saw it a lot of the time was we were only playing against rivals. We were only playing against someone that we're going to try and hopefully to overtake in the race of playoffs. But that win was good. It was a good drive home. Obviously, the drive up was sad. It was somber due to the Wiz news. But the win itself was good. We've sort of worked really hard on the shape all season. We've not really given any of the shape much consideration, have we? We've sort of worked on that tirelessly, and we got rewards for it. And we knew that the keeper possibly give you a chance at times, and it just took the 93rd minute to get that chance.
It felt like the 94th minute. It must have been a minute for that ball to roll over the line.
I still watch it back and think it's going wide.
Yeah.
I watch it back and think it wasn't going in. He was going to stop it. Defender was going to get there. It just feels like it took forever to go in that goal.
Yeah.
And there's a great picture of the fans behind the goal celebrating as the ball just trickles over the line, which I think summed up that day really well.
It sums up the season for the fan. It's been a good year with fans away again this year. At home, I think we finished with 5-6 on the bounce over 500-600, but to away games. I don't think we've had an away game where we've not had a good following this year as well. It's a testament to what probably you two have done over the last 2 years.
So I thought we'd done well at the following at Workington, considering it was summer holidays and it was little things like we talk about the following at Mac and the few hundred that we took there, but it was really good to give however many that were at Workington that Saturday that moment of elation. Some of them talk about the playoff game from years ago, or the league game from years ago. So yeah, it was really good to give the fans that moment really, and give yourself that moment. Doing a lap to the concourse, won't you, behind?
it was, and we spoke about Wiz, but it was the most fitting tribute to Wiz. I remember speaking to him 2-3 days before the game, something like that, and I'd text him asking him if he was going to Workington, and he'd said, "Not going to Workington, can't be asked going, we never win there. We're always crap at Workington." So fair play, definitely a fitting tribute to him. And then we played Linux at home, and again, last minute goal, but probably another one that had a bit of an edge to it. There was a lot coming into the game, a lot of chat off the pitch, not from our side, from elsewhere, coming into the game that felt like the game had maybe an unnecessary needle for two teams who, generally speaking, appreciate the way that each other play. But again, managed to pick up a last minute winner with a Potts penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean that game itself, I think we'd done so well defensively at Workington, but then we had to have like two changes. We had a different centre half partnership, didn't we?
Yeah.
Josh Dickin went down with illness during the day. Killer pulled his hamstring at Workington, so it was asking Grundy and Will Hartson, Grundy to move in from right back and Will Hartson to come in and centre half. And he had the disappointment of missing out at Workington. And it was a big game for Jack Grundy. I thought Jack Grundy was superb that game. He got everything put on him, and there were shouts from the side, put it on him, and he dealt with it, and he dealt with absolutely everything that was thrown at him. And then to get the penalty in I think it was late 80s, wasn't it? Mid 80s.
Yeah.
It was really good 3 points. And scored 2 from 2. It was a tough start, and it set us up well for Mac to come the following Saturday.
We'll come on to the cup games in a minute. Just touch on the Colne game as well. That felt like another big win. Like we said, a tough game away, but 2-0 down.
Really tough place to go to, and we started terribly. I think Nicky's dad said to out at the end, that's 1 goal and 2 assists. And I don't think we could believe what we're seeing from the side, a player of his quality playing the way he did. But then we scored some good goals to pull it back, and I think we showed a lot of character in that game. That I think if you look through the season, we've shown that a number of times where we've, even in that changing things around from the end of March, just that final run to give ourselves a chance to play. That's that character that players have had, and a willingness to dig deep and turn things around. And I thought that Colne game epitomised all of that. So it set us up really, really well after that Colne game to instill a bit more self-belief. I think there was still a little bit of doubt in the dressing room. There was a sort of sense of, we might have a chance of doing something this season. I think after the Colne game, there's a bit more belief there.
It's easy to forget that we went down to 10 then as well.
Yeah.
2-1, we went down to 10. And there was something that sticks with me still, that we equalised in the 80th or something like that.
I was just going to say this.
And the lads when I got the ball, and we all sprinted back, and that was like was mentioned about belief. That was probably the moment. Then it was a case we're not here to take a point from away from home. We're desperate to do it, and that's not something we necessarily discussed, talked about. They did it themselves. It was a case that was a theme that carried throughout the entire season. We never settled for something, which does make it a bit of a disappointment.
I was gonna say about that, but also the fact that it carried on through the season was something that came about. I remember the Mason equalising late on at Kids Grove, and we did the exact same thing, get the ball because they still think there's time to go and win the game, and that's the sort of resolve that they've grown into, because they've been together. Most of them have been together a year as a team, and have that relationship with each other.
It's a bit of resolve. It's a bit of wanting to achieve something. And we fell just short at the end, and there were times, I'm sure we'll come on to times when we did fall a little bit short. But I think there was a real desire this year to try and achieve something together as a group. football's fleeting. You never know when you turn up the next season, particularly non-league, if you're going to be in the same blokes that you're in. And we had a really good group in the season, and you could see they all wanted to do something for each other. They wanted to try and achieve something. We fell just short, but that desire to achieve something didn't go away.
Yeah. And then we'll touch on all 3 cup games at once instead of splitting them through all 3 cup games. So we'll start. Obviously, Macclesfield came in the cup. Bit of an unknown quantity for us because they had a lot of turnover on players, brought a lot of people in, didn't know what to expect after just a few games. But again, a really close fought game where it didn't feel like there was much in it apart from just a couple of bits of individual quality from Macclesfield. But going into the game, probably not fancied at all to, I think, 12, 13 minutes in, Keogh pulling one down and smashing a left foot stinger past the keeper. It was a good start to that game.
Yeah, well, yeah. I thought we did well the first 50. To be fair, I thought we did really well first half. James Berry's come up some quality in it.
Yeah.
There's not many players in the league that can do that. He's shot from 25 yards out on an angle and put it nearly place. Dale couldn't get it. I think the only disappointment I've got for that game is that I think we. I just think we might have played the occasion second half. I think there were elements of not sort of taking care of ourselves enough or taking care of the ball enough, and it was just individual errors second half that cost us. I think Jack Grundy's let a touch go away for him for the third. I think it was to give a penalty away with not tracked a man, and we had I thought we'd done well for large parts of that game. But when you've got Nicky Maynard in and around the box and James Berry and Kengi on one wing, it's quite impossible to. You need them to not perform, and all 3 of them did perform.
You need to not perform. You need to also not make mistakes, and as you said, we did. I think we just overcommitted for a corner. I think, and then there were calamity of errors that ended up with a handball and a penalty for them 6 seconds later, and we could have 3 or 4 chances to stop that, and if we those mistakes, that was the difference.
Yeah.
But even then, I think we still went and pulled one back, and we still felt we might nick something late on, and probably took a bit of belief from that game. Like, if you get at them, you can cause them problems. They're certainly not untouchable, and we've seen that this season. They've been good, and they've won the league, and they've rightly won the league. The best side in it, but they've had a few scares on the way, and we've caused one of them.
I mean, leading up to that game, we've watched we've got the footage from the Clitheroe game. They played Clitheroe first up, I think they 5 won it.
Yeah, they battered them, yeah.
And Clitheroe set off them, which we've never done that with anyone that we're playing against, but it's something that we realise if you sit off them, you're giving them time to space. But I mean, they changed their game plan. They would tend to try and play out from the back, so we set up a high press up, and then they just changed it to just balls over the top or try and hit him, sort of pacing behind. So yeah, it were different than what we thought it was. But when I suppose it's just a second half, you're thinking if we hadn't made them mistakes. But I mean, they had targets that they wanted first round proper. That was one of their targets.
It was first round proper semi-finals of the trophy.
Quite incredible, really. And that's what they wanted, and we can possibly be able to achieve it. And in full time, so yeah, it's trying to make sure that we've well accounted for ourselves, and we just individual errors. But.
And then trophy we drew. I mean, you couldn't have asked probably for 2 harder ties in terms of what they look like with Mac at home. I know they were home ties, but Mac at home, and then Dunstan, who are established team, Northern Premier League team, and in good form, came to us. Was meant to be on a Saturday. I think it was just after the Queen died, so it moved to the Tuesday. In a really probably there was a couple of games that stick out for me, but that felt like a really surreal game in that it didn't have the atmosphere. It was a Tuesday night. I think there was a lot going on in the country at the time, so it just felt flat, and it probably summed up the first half for us.
Yeah, I think it was the lowest crowd of the season, if I remember right. Like, we were in a bad run of form. I don't know if we lost 3 or 4 on the spin, but it was different because it was 3 or 4 in 10 days. So we had a bad sort of couple of weeks, not a bad month or so. They were good. They were really good. They were really good at what they did. I think we had a big big chance in the last minute. Freddie put it just wide, didn't he? To probably take it to
Yeah.
pens, which is what we deserved second half. But it was at that point in that run of games, we were just 1-0 down after nothing in about 3 or 4
Yeah.
games, and they were decent. I was surprised they missed out on playoffs. To be honest, I thought they'd probably go on and get a playoff spot.
They were good, and it, like you said, probably the last 10 minutes we looked like we might snatch a penalty shoot out of it, but the keeper made a couple of great saves.
I thought we might catch some cold Tuesday night. I'm strong down from the northeast. You kind of think, well, we might, if we start well, we might catch these cold, and it was completely the other way around. They came out they came out so quick and put it on us straight away, and we were flat. We were flat and didn't react to time. It took half time and changing things a little bit and shaking it up a little bit just to get a reaction out of the players, and we were better second half. But a couple of times this season we've it's probably been a bit of a recurring theme, and we've been a bit poor in the first 20, 30, sometimes 45 minutes, and I think that's cost us points.
That was a game we changed 4-3-3 after that, didn't we? We played Whitton after that, and we changed 4-3-3. Because I think that identified a bit of an issue with not an issue with the shape, just not having the width to be able to target. They played 3-5-2, so I think we'd got the setup wrong. We should have isolated the wide players and made 1v1 in those situations. And we did that second half, and we were going down towards the down the byway, and we were able to create a lot more chances, and that probably, we then added another bit to his armour, and then we added a 4-3-3 along with the other formation that we've been working on.
And then the last cup game, the Manchester Premier Cup, again, I don't think you could have probably asked for a tougher tie with a team with 1,000 Football League appearances between them, and I think we all went to the game. we were depleted. We didn't have many in at the time. I think Mason was away. You had quite a few injuries.
Alex was playing till about 5:30.
Give Mason a game.
And I think in the back of most people going's mind, I think most people thought, well, Radcliffe, they're flying high. They want to go for the playoffs. They might play a weakened team, and it wasn't a particularly weakened team at all. Nicky Adams in there amongst others. But in terms of a performance from a team where I think you give Sam Twist his first start. Will Shepherd played him in centre mid. Very makeshift sort of look to the team, but they were outstanding for a long portion of the game.
Yeah, first half especially. We've only ourselves to blame really for that, because we should have been, and I'm not exaggerating, it should have been 4, 100% should have been 4, possibly 5. I think Bailey's had 2 massive chances, Killer's had 1 cleared off line,
Twister's had 1 saved.
Twister's had a big in. And we were superb. That JB pass to Jack Grundy to whip it in for Umar to finish, am I right in thinking? That was a sublime goal.
It's one of my favourite goals of the season, and it didn't make the goal of the season shortlist, but
who's in charge of that?
some idiot. But the ball, I think the JB pass is just unreal, just an undefendable pass. But then the crossing is just as good, and Umar's there. You can't. Everything about that goal is just brilliant to watch.
I thought that first half we just got about. We didn't give them any time on the ball. We didn't let them settle. Every time we wanted to play forward quickly, and we caused them so many problems. And the keeper made decent saves, but they were decent saves. They weren't good saves. The finishing just wasn't good enough. And the chances with gilt edged, we should have put that to bed before half time. I suspect they had a bollocking at half time because they came out like a different side. And Nick Adams pulled the strings second half.
Yeah.
He really did run the show, and Tom Watson was superb. Made a couple of great stops in that game. So probably disappointing not to get something after that first half performance, and then the lottery of penalties.
Conceded just before half time.
Just before
2-1. I think at that your team's not a lot different, because when we should have been 4-0, we're now sort of trying to defend the hill at 2-1, and then conceding straight after. It was testament for his defending, well, for Tom Watson especially, but then everyone put bodies on the line, and we did have to sacrifice possession second half, and I think Jack Grundy had 1 cleared off line, didn't he? From the corner, so we had a chance to win it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm surprised they didn't make playoffs. I thought they were very good second half against us, and they went on and won the cup. So it's no disgrace really for us to lose to them.
No, not at all. So going back to the league, we had obviously a really good start in the league, and then we went to we had Newcastle Town at home, Ramsbottom away, Leek Town at home, and then Trafford away as a 4 games, which sort of brought everyone back to earth a little bit. If that's a fair way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we got carried away with ourselves before the Newcastle game, and that was the problem. I think we didn't really show up. I thought it was a poor performance, and it kind of set the scene for the next 4 games. I thought we lacked urgency in some of those games. I thought we went through the motions a little bit, and as Alex said before, we as a coaching team didn't spot the triggers and change that quickly enough. I think it took until that Whitson game to think we need to do something different here to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Newcastle Town one, I think we did really well for their start.
Yeah.
And Keogh had 2 disallowed for offside, which questionable offside. And Dickens given a penalty away, which for me still isn't. I don't think it was a penalty. So but we weren't good enough second half. I think we're coming at 1-0 and I think we thought the game.
That's it. Yeah, it's that thing with just a bit of complacency. We're on a winning run. We're doing well, and Newcastle Town at home, and I think that's where we lack the urgency second half, and just allow them to get on the pitch, allow them to put balls into the box, and that's ultimately where the penalty came from.
Do you think Rami away was your lowest point this season? Do you think?
Up there, I think.
Yeah.
Tough. I think they got about us, and I think they let them. I think we rested 1 or 2. We rested Keogh and Kane, which is a mistake. It was a mistake. I think we were trying to possibly please squad. And we should just try and win the next game. It's always Saturday Mondays are difficult. They are. I don't think you can win either way. I think you can try and flog 11 lads, or you can try and rotate it. But if the result doesn't go your way.
But I think a win, having beat Newcastle on Saturday, I think Ramsbottom becomes a different game because the decisions you're making are different. Yeah. And don't forget, the other thing we had was Dale struggled with the Newcastle game, and it was only at 1 o'clock on the Monday that we decided that Dale couldn't play. We turned up expecting Dale to play, and Jay Parsison had to just step in. He wasn't expecting to play. He hadn't prepped to play. He hadn't played a game since the end of the season before. He'd only done, I think, maybe 2 training sessions. So it was just tough for him to come in. And then Ken Dean, of all people, being the person who misses across that sails over into the top corner. And that kind of summed up that day. Kind of everything that could go right for them went right for them and went wrong for us. But I thought we were miles off it. They got about us. They won every first and second ball in the field. And we didn't put up enough. And that being said, if you watch it back, we still probably had 2 chances to score before they did, and a little bit more quality, a little bit more composure in the box, and again, could have been a different day. But margins are tight at this moment.
And then obviously we get beat off Leek at home. I think you were really critical at the time that they weren't as good as everyone thought they were. That they were just efficient and played to the game plan perfectly. And then we went to Trafford. Probably Trafford is a standout game for all the wrong reasons for this season. Obviously, we didn't get the result, but it was the first game of the season for Tom Watson that couldn't have been any different from how his season went for us.
No, it couldn't have. No, he were a bit timid when he walked in. He was a bit timid when he walked in, which is understandable. He walked into the changing room. Kicking. Keep on field, ran past one. He still made a couple of good saves and stuff. And again, I think that was a Tuesday night game. We had to move Nicky to left back to cover for Freddie. Freddie were out. So it was just.
We showed people into the shape. I don't think the shape was ever
quite
too right. We ended up playing almost with a 4-4-2. That we started 4-4-2, and then we ended up dropping Keogh and going Potsy to try and nullify Ashley, and I think we got the team selection wrong, the shape wrong. We should have, in hindsight, probably protected Tom a little bit more on his first game in. And the second half, I thought we were better. We changed the shape again. I thought we were better, and we kind of up and puff, but didn't really create that much. Certainly nothing clear cut.
No.
And then from having gone from great start to what then looked pretty average for the next few, you go to Whitton Albion favoured at the beginning of the season. I think they'd just beaten Mac at home as well. And it's probably up there in the top five performances of the season for me.
We were outstanding because it was an average start, but I think we were still top of the league.
Yeah, we were in or about, weren't we?
It was ridiculous. I remember Nicky saying what's going on. I think we beat Whitton. Mac might have had an FA something like that.
Yeah.
We win on Saturday, we're top of the league. What are you going on with? And that was the thing. And I thought the Whitton game sort of did become a bit of a turning point. It was a bit of a must-win quite early on. I thought it was. I thought, you can't lose anyway. And things just worked then. I think Tom was superb. His distribution was outstanding. I thought Nicky marshalled the middle perfectly. We ran long. We turned them. We didn't necessarily have slow possession at the back. And we played really well. I think the Banny goal was a superb goal. Tom out to Freddie on it, pass inside, and he runs long and we get the flick on. It was a really good. It was a really good 3 points.
He doesn't score many tap-ins either, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Some absolutely brilliant goals this season.
Yeah. I think the Whitson game is probably the one game where we just said we didn't look beyond Whitson. At that point, we got guilty of looking too long, and we just said, we've got to book this trend. We've got to break this form, and we've just got to go and deal with Whitson.
Yeah.
And we changed the team, we changed the formation. We made quite a few changes, and for that fixture, all geared around winning that game, and it did feel like we changed our fortunes as a result.
Yeah, and we were 2-0 up at half time.
Yeah.
And I remember, and for some reason, because it was only a 10-day period in which we'd not won of them, I don't think much longer than that anyway. And we were 2-0 at half time. It was just a case of just sort of not bank it, don't sit back, don't let them, some decent players, it's good play, it can cause you a lot of issues in behind. And then we started the front foot, and we should have had, I think Keogh's missed a big chance to make it 3 quite early on. We never really looked him down at any point. And I don't know whether or not they seemed to be a trend at that point. If you beat Mac, you go on about 6 or 7 game run, didn't you? And I think that was a start for them. I don't know whether or not beating Mac, or they weren't at the races for that or whatnot, but we were, take nothing away from us, we were superb that day.
And then we went Widnes at home, 4-1, probably the most. Well, I think you said Northwich was at home was probably your most complete performance, but it was another one that was up there. And then we went to Kidsgrove away, which was a bruising affair, if that's the right way of putting it. But again, it was about that heart that you said that we had, that we stuck in it and got the equaliser late on.
And I don't think we were bad that day by any stretch of the imagination. I thought we played well. I thought Umas put a very good goal. That was ruled out for offside. That definitely wasn't. And we had some other chances in the first half. We really put a lot of pressure on them. We let them go back into the game second half. I don't think we particularly let them. I don't think we did much wrong in the second half. They've got some talented players. Saxon caused us some problems. But they kind of got back into the game, but it was then the desire to try and go and win it. Mason's goal was a good goal. Keogh had come off the bench and brought a different dimension, and then can we go and get something in the last 10 minutes, which is good attitude.
Yeah, that was probably the first game of the season we just got kicked. we were trying to play and we were just getting kicked. It weren't necessarily supported by the man in the middle. I think we had to bring Nicky off. I remember bringing Nicky off. I think Nicky was injured.
He got kicked off the ball.
Yeah,
because the
half.
ball did become incidental to a couple of their midfielders, and the referee allowed it. When I pointed out at the end that he was going to get players injured, he was refereeing. He told me he thought he had a good game, which that's all you need to know. He didn't ask for the VO, didn't ask for feedback. But some referees have, and I have a lot of respect for referees who ask for the VO and want to watch it back, a lot of conversation with you. He wasn't one of them.
No. We missed a big chance later on to win it as well, so it does go back to that sort of endeavour and desire to go and get at the end. But a point away at Kidsgrove is not. is a tough place. It's not an easy place to go at all.
It was another run of tough games because we played Kidsgrove away, Clitheroe at home, and then Prescott Cables away, who were a team in decent form at the time as well. And there were three, you'd say three pretty decent performances in general. Clitheroe must have been frustrating because we were so good. It was another one where we probably should have been 3 or 4 up.
Yeah, I think both Clitheroe games is probably one of the main reasons as to why we didn't get worse in the end. We snatched a point from a game that we've pretty much dominated. I thought we had some enormous chances. They're really dangerous on the break, but they're going to be dangerous on the break with some of the players they've got. But they did have Sefton out, they did have Billy out, and we knew it was a big opportunity for us. And I think we did really well. It was only fair that it was only fair result really that we got a point in the 90th minute. Mason scored in that. But that run of games, it was winning that, drawing that game, and the Prescott game was because we were all in and around each other, weren't we? Kidsgrove that were in and around it, Prescott that were in and around it as well, and it was a tough run of games. But to go through that period, it was unbeaten, and it did instill belief in us again. And then the Nicky goal at Prescott, wasn't they?
Is that as good a goal as either of you have seen?
Watched it back in the goal of the season compilation, and you forget how deep he picks the ball up. That's what makes it so. You see a lot of these those starts to go, the ball rolls from playing, they ping it. It's the fact he brings it down, drops a shoulder, beats a man, makes up 10 yards probably doing that, and then how flat the strike is, it's drilled. The keeper's got absolutely no chance, and he's a good keeper, and he's got absolutely no chance.
He did one in training on Thursday, and I think he just went over, and he said to Tom, "I'll get you," that type of thing. But he scored. I think he scored a few for Alta like that, we were a moment of quality, and that was a hard fought win. It was a tough game. That.
We've seen a few here from the halfway line where players have had the time, stood, roll the ball, flick it forward and then hit it, but it's the touch. The touch is just unbelievable. Skips past the player and wow. Yeah. You forget, because we've scored so many good goals this season, you forget how good it was, but when you watch it back, I'd be surprised if it's not goal of the season this year, definitely. And then probably there's a run of games in there that are some good and some bad, but it's Skelmersdale away. We said Ramu away was a bad one, but I think it was bad, not just on the pitch, but everything about the day was not a good day for anyone who went that day.
I don't think Skelmersdale away was as bad as Rami away. It was just, I thought Rami, we were poor, Rami were good. I thought Skelmersdale, we were poor, Rami, Skem were poor, also poor, but got a goal. I just thought it was a dreadful game of football. I honestly did. If I'd have been watching that, I think I'd have left at half time and gone to the Tesco, because it was just flat. Like, neither team really did much with the ball. Possession was just turning over every 3 passes. It was just can't have been a good day out for anybody.
Couldn't get any signal at the ground either, so it's like everything couldn't have gone anywhere.
Cole and Dirk well and truly told me how bad a day it was. When I checked them after the Liverpool game, and I couldn't deny it. It was
Colin Dirk with a pot noodle behind the goal.
So yeah, probably less said about that the better. And then you had 2 decent games. So that we 1874 beat them at home, like you said, most complete performance. Hard to argue with that. And then Bootle away was a good performance. It was 2 teams who were played well against each other, and a hard fought 1-1 draw that set us up going into Mac away really.
I thought Bootle were up there at that point. I think they were pushing, and Ben Hodgkinson is outstanding footballer. Yeah. He's a big threat. Navaldo as well.
And he was good that day. Problems.
Bailey scored a really good goal. I thought we were decent going forward. That was a really good game. Really good game. Probably a draw would probably a fair result. If you want to say.
I thought both sides created in that game. I thought both 2 young keepers. I thought both did really well. It was almost the opposite of the Sken game. That was a good game of football. It was 2 sides who wanted to get it down, and certainly that allowed you to play. Good chances, some good quality on show.
To pick something out from that game probably would be emergence is the wrong word, but I would probably say emergence. The emergence of Will Shepherd. He'd not come out of nowhere because he'd been solid all season, but the goal, as much as it's all about Bailey's finish, the goal is so much about how a centre mid playing at right back has that composure to tuck it through a player's legs and then cut back and take the time to pick the pass instead of just pinging it across the box. And it sort of signalled the start of what, well, not the start because he played well, but it started him really kicking on. And for me, probably outside of probably Trey Pemberton, probably being the best right back in the league.
He was still on his all-inclusive at Skem away though. Will fantastic. I think you're right. I think that was probably the time in which we sort of realised that how big a threat we could be down that right hand side with Mason coming in and Will going long and being that way. I mean, the composure to take the man on in the corner and then drill a hard low pass to Bales who slotted it home. But it weren't just that. A lot of it came through Will for a lot of the season, really. And he caused a lot of issues. He was strong competitively in his challenges. He had a really good season.
And if you think right back was a problem at the start of the season, we had Joe Rothwell and Jack Grundy sort of splitting the role really for the first few games, and then Will drops in there, and I think once he drops in, he looked comfortable.
Yeah,
it's just got better and better. He's just learned to play a position, and as Alex said, because we had Will there, Mason was then allowed to drift inside and pick up pockets and find space, which is what Mason does so well. And that partnership became really important to us.
And then we move to the highs and the lows of football that no one can really explain unless you've been part of it. Macclesfield away. I don't think you said about Workington, people talked about Macclesfield. I know you two didn't very, very clearly, but people would say free hit away from home, nice day out. I think what you said before is really, really relevant, is our away following was really good at Macclesfield, but if you look at everyone's away following at Mac, everyone takes loads because it's a big day out for people who don't go very often, but it was the group of people that have followed us here, there and everywhere this season. But actually about the Mac game, going 1-0 down early on, probably struggling a little bit under some pressure, and then just turned the tide, and you'd argue it was probably for 90 minutes was probably as complete as you get.
We organised the press Mac away, and we changed what we normally did, and it was wrong. We were wrong. I think we got passed around for 15 minutes. We couldn't lay a foot on the ball. I think Tom's made a big save before 1-0 as well, so it could have easily been 2, which changed in that massively changed the complexion of the game. And then Bales spoke with me, and Bales, JB and Kane themselves sort of organised how we're going to operate and how they're going to change sort of Murphy dropping in here, and everyone, it was, and we then got off all of the game. Prior to the game, we'd spoke about this record against the team around us, and beating Workington, beating Runcorn, lost the league, challenged Mac at home, sort of drew Clitheroe, and we just kept referring to it as a rival, didn't we, at that point? And like you said, there was a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk all season about Mac away being a free hit, but it worked for us. And then the second half probably proved, well, for 42 minutes of the second half, probably proving that.
So I suppose probably the first place to start, JB in that game was unplayable at times. I've not seen him play.
I thought he pulled the strings. I thought in the midfield where you had a lot of experience, I thought he was a player who stood out. I thought he really did pull the strings, and he organised, and he taught more than he ever taught. He was winning balls, pops up with a goal. I think he did everything you could ever ask of a midfielder. And I thought Kane and Bailey at the side of him as well were superb. Those three had a big pitch, and they covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. I mean, them three in the middle were fantastic, really. And we were without Nicky and Keogh that game as well.
Yeah. Keogh watched it on FaceTime, didn't he?
Yeah. From Mexico.
Yeah, so without Nicky, and I think JB was superb. I thought Freddie and Will Shepherd both had really good games. Killer showed his authority against the elite Football League striker. And Grundy did. It was really harsh on Josh Nicky leaving Josh out. I know how gutted he was about that. And we had Umar up top, and we had a game plan. And like I said, in the second half, we'd sort of change the press again at half time and discuss what we wanted from them as a group really. There were a lot of times I think Mason looked up on the board and said, I need this here, I need that here. JB had mentioned a couple, and there was a lot of leadership, and that was a big message to take from it, from the whole game really, is that you can't just do it in front of 4,000 there. That's got to be a scheme away. Doing that scheme away it's massive, and I think it did for large parts of the season really. It's funny. When all else fails, chuck a big man up top. That's the thing that that's what they did. They put Tom Clare on up top and
put balls into the box and cause chaos.
You can have your passing patterns and everything else that you want to work on, but all else fails, hit the big man.
The JB goal was a brilliant goal. Again, that's in the goal of the season contenders for this year. But I genuinely don't know if Jack Bannister's goal was a worldie or it was just how incredible it felt that they've just equalised. The announcers announcing man of the match for them over the speaker. Everyone's cheering. Everyone's giving us loads of stuff, and then Mason whips one in, and Jack Bannister's there. And it's a really tight angle. It's a great finish, but I don't think I'll ever forget the noise on that when that goes in. That was, as much as losing it was horrible, and the way we lost in 98, 99 minutes, but that was something else. That was a proper high from football. That.
And back to that attitude, they've just equalised. All their crowd are up.
Yeah.
It'd be easy to go into your shell at that point. We went and got another go. We still wanted to go and win the game at that point. We weren't going to sell.
Yeah. I think we've taken a kick off, haven't we? We got thrown in the bottom corner. And we just worked it out, and then isolated down the other side, which is something we worked on quite a lot last season. And then the ball came in, and like I said, it was the noise, it was the euphoria, it was because you think you've thrown it away in the 88th. It was just like, because we'd had a chance as well prior to that to make it 3-1. And then that was the highest of the highs. And it was really good, and I think there's elements of regret really that we didn't give fans that moment overall to win. We gave them the moment of celebrating the Barney goal at a full-time side, but we weren't able to give them the full moment. And fair play to them. But we talked through in the week as well. We talked about doing it overall by playing against 4,000. It's really good when you've got 4,000 behind you, but it's not going to have 4,000 against you. We need to frustrate it and allow that there's going to be that many against them. It's just when we hit the big man that then had the tide turned there. And we're holding on, and we played until we scored, didn't we? So.
And it marked a little sub-story for you with you getting pelters from fans on and off the pitch for the rest of the season, pretty much.
Yeah. It's great. If you've got nothing better to do on a Saturday night, then go on Twitter and search fans saying about the team. They may want to take up a new hobby.
No, it's good. They're watching the YouTube videos, so it's fun.
Whichever way, click the like button, subscribe, gents. Whichever way you cut it, Bathurst are a full-time side. They train more than everybody else in the league. They've got more time to work on set pieces. They've got more time to work on fitness. They've got more time to work on shape. And fair play to them. They've got 4,000 fans. They've got the money to be able to do that. Stand by it. Don't go hiding and say you're not full-time when you're full-time. Although they're going apparently an extra day next year, so maybe that's full time, and this was working up to it.
That's the thing. They've got Kane Hickman's up and down scaffolding Friday. They're training a lovely complex.
Oh, I do remember because we mentioned it before the cup game that they'd it might have been Strigley Hall or somewhere like that where they'd had a nice relaxing day and Keogh's on the site, Kane Hickman's scaffolding. Yeah, so it is what it is. I mean, if you can do it, you can do it, and that's the thing, isn't it?
Right? Yeah. And I think that there were, especially last game of the season, they popped it around and they were superb. They were superb, and it was for the league. It was really good. Them in the division got a lot of attention into the league. It was brilliant, and they did sort of create. They were a good footballing side. It weren't like they just got a team full of 30-odd-year-olds and just pumped it forward.
We've seen teams with money in these leagues who've just gone. Let's get out this league by hoofing it up and
you look at they've not just filled it. They filled the team with a load of superstars out of Pemberton. They brought through quality player Mendy. I think he's as good a player as they've got. I think he maybe came out of the Cheshire League. So I think
he was brilliant here.
It's not all about going out and spending big money, but they've equally got that money to be able to spend it and be able to prepare in a different way than everybody else. and they reap the rewards of that, and good luck to them.
So we might have to whiz through a couple of games here because it'll be forever otherwise. But we come out of Mac. We again another
just miss February and March. Stop talking about it.
Another solid performance. We beat City of Liverpool relatively comfortable at home. A difficult game away at Hanley Town. Probably summed up some of our misfortune in the season. Not necessarily misfortune, but for me probably what cost us the play. I know you said the Clitheroe games cost us, but for me it felt like I think Hanley hadn't picked up a point at home that season. So we drew with them and we weren't great, and it's those games against them bottom few teams where we maybe it's not for me to say, but we just didn't turn up and didn't play.
We had to shuffle the pack a little bit that day. We had a couple of players missing. I think Sean started.
He did,
First start for us. I just thought we were not really ever creating anything and not really having much quality on the ball. They were a threat on the break, really good on the counter. Eden being one of the threats. And yeah, we were just, I think they were up for it, and we weren't that day, and for whatever reason. And it shouldn't be the case that you can get up for Macclesfield and not get up for Scared and Hanley, but it did feel a little bit like that day.
I think around that time as well, we became a bit of a scam for teams.
Yeah.
Teams did bank up against us, and they did want to give us possession and not allow us to find space in between fullback, centre half and things like that. And we saw a change in around that against some teams that they were definitely banking up against us, which is something that we should have maybe anticipated at the time. I don't know. But yeah, it's rough games, but there was never a tough game. There was never a sort of easy game in this league. That's the thing. Like Hanley hadn't done that. Like the amount of games, I think we've lost 7 out of 7 at home, but we lost quite a few just to the odd goal. And we know how that felt in the run that we had. They can go either way.
And I've been to watching a Clitheroe the week before, and they should have won the game. You know, the keeper drops the ball and comes comfortably ahead, and that was the difference. And they still came back into it at the end and nearly nicked something out of that game. So we knew they weren't a bad side.
And then probably the opposite of what I've just said around losing to teams down there or not picking up 3 points against teams down there. We play Glossop away, and what was technically classes as a derby game in this league for us. Be slightly different next season, obviously, but it always feels like there's a lot of needle in those games or a lot of pressure on it. But again, for me, it was an entertaining game of football and not the best pitch considering the time of year, but that the Jack Bannister goal in that game stands out as another sort of wow moment, really. Not necessarily from Jack, but more.
Yeah, great way to pass. Yeah. Good run though by Banny, something we talk about a lot. Out those runs from out to in, and then Jack's composure.
Well, I wasn't saying that at the time when he cut inside, and he'd come back onto his left. But no, it was a good finish, but a good solid win. You know,
it was important. It was definitely important. We got 6 points from them too.
Does they feel like from not being in the changing room and not knowing how you guys feel on that front, but from a fan's perspective, someone who works at the club, that game feels like it's bigger than pretty much any game. There's probably 2 games that stand out as feeling like they're more important, and actually it's not a title decider or it's not a playoff decider for either team. One team it is, but did it feel that pressured on the inside?
Yeah. Well, Runcorn had started getting away from us. There was always Mac always getting away. There were always going to be workers in the league that would push away, but we always wanted to try and keep. And I think Runcorn had just beaten Leek, and they just opened up a gap with us. So, excuse me, it were important that we tried to close that gap. And Gloucester away is tough. The Keaton Mulvey up top, for example, will not give you a minute, and we knew that. And I thought it was superb. I thought it was a really good game. I think there was some real questionable defending from us at times to give him chances in the game, which I don't think we should have really done that. But I think we had enough really throughout the game to win that. And then the Rami at home, they played well. They played well against us again, and that's what I mean about there was no easy game. And then it was Runcorn after that.
Yeah.
So it was important that we sort of went to Runcorn knowing that we probably at that time we had to try and close the gap. So yeah, it was good 6 points at Christmas.
Did Runcorn move on now to Runcorn away? That feel like a key. At the time, it felt like a key moment in the season. It felt like a massive win. How did that feel to you guys at the time?
I felt really good. It was probably one of the highlights of the season.
Yeah.
I thought the performance was very good. The result was obviously great, and it meant a lot in the title race. So the push for the playoffs. At that point in the season, we worked ourselves back into it. I mean, seeing it slip away, we'd start to close the gap, and that victory event, we were very much back in the shake-up. So it was huge. It was probably as big as the season before. Probably two of the highlights of my time at Moses so far. Those 2 games away at Linux. We've just seen both sides put together a pretty good all-round performance where we've for me largely controlled the game, created the better chances, and rightly won both games. And it was a bit of magic from Keogh for the winning goal, and Umar's celebration. I texted afterwards with a picture of Martin had taken. The elation in his face when he scored that goal.
It was a really good goal. But yeah, it felt big, and I think, like you said, it was the performance. The overall, it didn't feel like a 2-1 performance. We were comfortably in control of that game for large parts of the game. I think the only time I felt nervous was when the centre mid had a free kick 20 yards out right at the end, and I thought it'd be our luck for him to ping it in the top corner, but he put it into somewhere near the motorway anyway, so it worked out all right. But it felt like a statement performance, a proper win, and it must feel good as a manager, assistant manager, walking off a pitch 2 seasons in a row with a set of fans who are notoriously very partisan, as you would expect, but clapped off the pitch by the away fans in a game where obviously the manager used to be our manager as well, so they know how much it meant to them. That must feel good in that situation.
And a few of the fans came and spoke to me afterwards as well. I'm sure I spoke to you as well, Alex, and they were really gracious and really complimentary. And it's probably moments like that is why I still can't get over that we didn't quite get into the playoffs this year. The potential was there, and we realised it in certain points and certain games in the year where things fell together, and then we didn't in Hamley, Skelmersdale, Ramsbottom away, and that's the frustrating bit. But yeah, that was a good day.
Yeah. And then we go on, probably, like you said, it's sort of a try and forget these next few fixtures where we sort of, I don't think, probably that the highlight, not highlight, but we had a flow last season of games where we lost every game, not every game, but we lost a lot of games and didn't play particularly well for a couple of months. And we had a spell similar to that this year, but it felt different in that it felt more unlucky than just bad. I think we've got a Colton at home, Hanley away. Hanley at home, which was a close. I think that we picked up the points, but it was a close game in that one again. Workington at home, where they were arguably the best team that have played there.
Yeah, thought they were very good that night.
Clitheroe at home, again, another debatable decision at the end. No, it wasn't. Clitheroe away was a tough one for us to take because we played well and lost it in the last minute from, like you said, free kick to free kick. But
we set up a game plan and it was very much, a lot of it was geared around Freddie. And he went off after 3 minutes. And we had to change our game plan. I thought we did that superbly on the fly. I thought the players were good. I thought we were probably the better side over the 90 minutes, and we had a couple of chances later on to win it, and just didn't deal. A ball into the box, they countered, didn't deal with it properly, corner, and just switched off.
I think that run of games was probably from Cone, really.
Yeah.
Around that, I think Cone, we went 1-0 down. We drew 1-1, didn't we?
Yeah.
We missed a couple of chances. We've not really been good enough. Hanley we weren't good enough that day, but somehow won. And then Workington weren't good enough, and then Workington before Hanley won it. Or whatever it was. Anyway, it started at the Widnes.
Yeah, Widnes away.
Widnes to Trafford, was it the Tuesday night?
Widnes to Sken, that 7-game run. Losing 5, drawing 2, I think it was, but we lost all 5, 2-1, is, that's what's done it, for us. I think that's where a lot of the what ifs, buts, and maybes come from. Whether it's refereeing decisions, refreshing the squad, not taking chances, not performing well enough. There was loads of different times which maybe if you just have that little bit more experience at times that you turn one of them 2-1s into a win. You know, if we take a chance at Cuther Road, they don't score at night. It was a 6-pointer. We then get the 3 points, they don't.
I think we played Trafford Tuesday night before that, and had we it ended up as a 2-2. Like we won that one, then we go into that game, and they're under a bit more pressure. And sliding doors moments where you change one thing, and the whole story becomes a different story. Pressure shifts a different scene.
The three that stand out for me. So we went on a bad run. We were in the middle of a difficult period, but the Trafford game stands out because we should be 3-0 up. We then lose. We go 2-1. We then lose a man. We hang on for a draw. Then we play Witton at home. Another where we've played really well. It was an entertaining game, to be fair, but again, last minute, the most Stonewall penalty you'll ever see. And it felt like at times we don't want to complain about referees, we try not to, but this season we've had, I would argue, the worst decisions against us this season.
Put Bootle away in there as well, where deep cross in and you
can't
sign it and throw it out for throw in. And I think we've had a few going our way. I think we've had a couple where we've looked at each other and said, well,
there was one at Prescott, got away with one at Prescott.
Yeah.
I think you'd like to think that it balanced itself out through the season, but it's really difficult to look at that when Trafford was so blatantly obvious at what it was. And I've spoke to the ref since, and there was apologies, and and I was really thankful to the ref to having that time. My issue with Jack Grundy sending off was that he'd done it too quick. And it did change the game, and obviously he admitted that it was a penalty. You know, on reflection, he should have given it as such. The Jack Grundy red card got rescinded, but you can't really just focus on that. I mean, we're not really big on just focusing on that. There's a lot within that rule. We did take a chance because of that were a big thing. Didn't play well enough against Kidsgrove and Scape at home. Probably the two games that we did well for 60 minutes at Kidsgrove and then give them 2 goals. Gifted them 2 goals. The first goal, we've analysed it as a team. We've analysed it, which was not good enough, and you throw it away a winning position, and then we end up conceding it. Killer saves it online, doesn't he? With losing it in a couple of games, and we got paid. That's the thing, and I think there's multiple reasons as to why. I think everyone around us strengthened at that point and refreshed squad. We, for one reason or another, couldn't get a body in, but we should have. So we need to take accountability for that at times. Lads probably might have got ahead of themselves, or some people might have got ahead of themselves, but I don't think it necessarily that. I just think, like Fisher described it, the perfect storm. We had injuries, we had refereeing decisions, we had poor performances, and we missed chances. And I think that's it. But you can graft as much as you want for 10 months. It's a 6 game, 7 game spell that you can't afford to do it. And I've probably learned the importance of how important Tuesday Saturdays are. That if like Trafford did it, they won 5 on the spin, I think 2 of them Tuesdays. And they were bang there at that point. After joining with us, they were
talking of the playoffs. Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's momentum. If you can get it, it's like a train, isn't it? And we just lost momentum at the wrong time. Positively, but 7 games after that were a pleasure to be part of it. Really, I thought 7 game run after that, I thought it was superb.
I think it must be quite proud, maybe pleasing, one of the two, somewhere in between for the pair of you, the way that turned round from 1874 away through to City Liverpool away, where it looked like everything was lost, and then they put pressure on. I think nobody expected us to go to League Town and pick anything up, and we were very, very good value for a point. So I think you go into those run of games and take the points that you did as a reaction. That must be pleasing. And I think probably for me, the thing that stands out with that little run there, and you've just sort of hinted at it then, was it felt like, and it didn't feel like it was, that the teams above us were getting a new player every week. And you guys couldn't bring one in, couldn't afford to bring one in of the right calibre, and you waited, and you got the right players in that suited us and saw us through in Eden and Kai.
The one that stands out for me is the same day or the day after Clitheroe signed Mark Pugh and we're ground sharing with Bury.
Yeah.
And that's the state. That's the sort of state where the two clubs are at, and that's the thing. And the Bury relationship was really, really positive for everyone at the football club. It's only going to strengthen in future as well. Clubs around us were able to strengthen with Premier League experience, and we just didn't necessarily have that in our armour. It was really getting Kai in the evening was massive. Really, I think getting that and getting Nicky back fit, and sort of Tom also hit his real purple patch where he just didn't want to let anything in. And I think the proudest part of the season for me was we'd lost 5 games on the spin 2-1, and then we only conceded 2 in 6.
Yeah.
When a lot of lads could have down tools and they chose not to. And that probably shows how much the pride they have for each other. But also the football club, I think they could have easily down tools, but they refused to. Josh Dickin, the transformation for the last 6 games was unreal. I thought he led.
He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
We probably had a lot from him that arguably could have done it earlier, could have put a lot more pressure on him earlier, but will that song come back in, who I just feel for him, obviously getting an hamstring injury at Newcastle Town, but he's grafted away from Chloe and away from football to get himself fit, and he came in and didn't lose a header.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of lads could have just have done with it, and to finish sort of 4 points out, 4 or 5 points out of it, it's really hard to not feel begrudged by it.
And then, so I remember being at Clitheroe away, and Joe Edwards had pulled out because he wanted to play with the under-23s at Oldham. And I remember you speaking to Tom on the sideline because you'd been offered to take Kai Payne on loan, and you didn't know what it was like, and you asked Tom. I was there when you asked him, and Tom went, "Yeah, he's all right. He's not a bad little player." It's a bit of an understatement having seen him play. I think we've seen some really, really good players. We think about bums off seats players in terms of people like Jez who've been here when you've been here, and players before that. But for me, Kai probably stands out as one of the players who I am adamant, 100% certain that he will go on and play. Probably play in the Premier League. He's that good. He's such a good footballer, and the standouts for me, on top of everything that he did well when we played Mac and they put pressure on him, he was calm. He didn't do anything wrong. He was excellent all the time.
So when Wigan offered him to me, Frankie Bunn had spoken to me. Jack Cudworth, who's the goalkeeper coach, spoke first. Frankie looks after the 23s and his loan manager, and he was speaking about him, and they really, really rate him very highly. And Frankie was like, he won't let you down. He trained with us and we thought, he's a player here. We didn't want to throw him straight in at Prescott, brought him off the bench when we had to change things. And straight away he was making runs into the box, and we thought
he hit the post in that, didn't he?
Yeah, he looks like he's got a little bit here. So when next game we didn't hesitate to put him straight in, and he just looked so at home. I think what he's 2-footed, he's tall, he doesn't lose many headers, he covers the ground well, he's comfortable shooting, comfortable receiving the ball, wants to make things happen. He's also a nasty, horrible man as well. He's got that horrible bit that you need to make it in the game. So Nathan Valentine was giving him loads at Gloucester, and he's an experienced player, and he was in his ear all the time, and he was giving it back. And I can't remember which game it was where he actually went out of his way to go and give somebody a bit because he'd been chipping away at him. And I thought, I like that. I'd be incredibly surprised if he doesn't get on in and around the first team squad next season.
Yeah.
I suspect he might play a couple of cup games for him, depending on kind of how things pan out. But I think he's got a real chance. He's a good side. He's going to fill out into his frame. He does everything for a midfielder.
And he just seems like a nice kid, and it fits in with what the type of people that you guys bring in.
Nice, quiet, polite kid.
Yeah.
Hung around after the last game. I was in the office talking. Somebody came out and he was in the corridor, and so I just waiting to thank you very much for what you've done for me. And really polite kid. Have him back in a heartbeat.
He's the first loan player that we've either had at Shelley or had here in recent years that would wholeheartedly would walk into any team in the league. I just think he's that good.
And we only had him for a handful of games.
Yeah.
And that's what you can see just from that. and he scored two worldies, two absolutely brilliant goals for totally different reasons. I thought the volley at 1874 is just a brilliant finish, instinctive, but the touch against Bootle at home, is it Bootle? Yeah. The touch for that goal is just, and to turn a volley like that's just out of this world.
Doesn't really celebrate either, does it?
No, he's not bothered. And we mentioned about Kai, but that spell, like you said, Eden came in and sort of, he felt like, and it's no disrespect to any of the players who we've had play up front, whether it's Potts or Keogh or Camara, but he's like the number 9 that everyone wants. He's fast, he's nasty, gets involved, he chases everything down, and he can finish as well. The goal against Glossop is a proper finish.
So I watched him play for Hanley up at Clitheroe, and he was one of the players I'd start next to him in the match report. He played twice against us, and I thought he's a real handful. And we were talking about players that we might want to go and try and bring in to do something a bit different. And he did mention, I've been searching him on the Sunday and realised we were on over Altrincham, and then about 2 days later we got a circular who's available. So straight onto it. Yeah, we'll have him. We'll have him. So they did the deal, and Altrincham were really good about it. Came in first training session here, kicked about 6 players in the warm up, and I thought he'll do for me. Just trains like he plays, and that's what's different. He's just a bit quicker, probably a bit nasty than the other lads who've played up there, and it just doesn't give centre halves a moment's peace. Things happen because he's so busy.
Yeah, he did. I think them 2 signs at the time probably changed his fortune. It was unfortunate that other players missed out, but really at that point, because we were on such a run, it was important that we brought people in. But it was also good to see that the families attended games and sort of saw what Mosley were all about, especially in the clubhouse after the game. Sort of eating with his family, and Kai picked up many bottles of champagne that he's probably not drank. But it was important that they saw, and we are a football club that we're trying to encourage people, that we're doing things the right way. We will give young players a chance, and everyone's welcome to come and attend, and the family field that's in the clubhouse after. So it was really good as well for Tom. His dad was ever present. His family were ever present at every game, just entertaining Mosley gear, and it was great to see. And I think that all the loans that we've had, majority of the loans that we've had, they've worked out perfectly, and we've given them the chance. And I would love nothing more in a few years' time to watch them prosper, and hopefully Tom gets first team football. No doubt Kai will, and I hope that Eden goes on as a decent career.
It must mean a lot that, like you just said, the families seem to take everything about the club on board, and this isn't just loan players, but you see people who've left the club, and the parents, as well as the players. It's difficult for, because you can't actively be seen to supporting another club while your club's there. But
Dave Matthews walking around, and Simon's there, Deck's dad's walking around, and Benji's dad's often at games. It's a good club.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we do, we try and get things right on the pitch and try and get things right on training. But we're not the ones who are making atmosphere for the parents. That's everything that everybody else does, all the volunteers away from the pitch. You just make it such a welcoming place to be.
And it's easy to forget that they're 18 coming in, and just because they're on loan from Wigan, they won't have experienced the crowds that what they've experienced at 23s or 21s football. Tom won't have had chips thrown at him from people going, but watching them deal with that, but at the same time we can't then talk to them and expect them to know little acts that you need to know to get through games, or demanding so much. We spoke a lot about Tom, that you've built a really good relationship with him, that we don't want to change what he does Monday to Friday. What we're going to tell him to, every time you get ball, Tom, boot it as far away as you can, or start it, because I just think that's confusing. I think that's something you've got to take into consideration with loan players, that they are still young, they're coming in, and you want the families to have a really good experience, and now that you do build good relationships with league clubs, that they can trust you with your Kai Paynes and your Tom Watsons. So it was really positive. I thought it was positive for all parties really in the loan market this year.
And it's a two-way street, and Wigan have been great in that they won't send us anybody that they don't think's ready for us. Yeah. So you've got that kind of right balance. So you can trust what you're getting. They trust them when it comes to you. Yeah. So no, it's been really positive, and you know, that relationship now is built and established and something we can utilise going forward.
Like something that I've not mentioned earlier on, and we spoke about, like you're saying, the family aspects of the club, and it brings everyone together, and it does feel like I think we spoke in I don't know if it was a committee meeting or not. It was something we were talking about. I was speaking to Steve Porter about it, but the people who you see at football now, especially here, it is like a big family, and it's felt closer than a family over the last couple of years. I think we spoke before about Wiz, and Wiz was a big part of that, and then obviously we lost Harry this year as well, who was another massive part of the club, which were two real big losses. But you can see how, from the reaction to both of them passing to the games afterwards, and where we've tried to celebrate their lives a little bit, that the impact that not just that they've had on the club, but the club's had on them as well, and that they've had on the people in the community. Yeah. It's a special place to be around, and being part of that must be a good feeling to be part of that.
I still can't quite grasp it when you're walking in Mosley and you're coming down on a match day, and we haven't done it so much this year, but occasionally we'd stop and have a breakfast on the main street, and you see people walking past with a Mosley gear on, and it's kind of a strange feeling. But then Mosley's what town, 11,000 or so people, yeah. and you've got 500 of them here every other Saturday afternoon. It's it's a big percentage of the community. It's a big part of people's lives. So it does feel like it. It does feel great. Not so much when you lose it and you go into the police and get held, but if people care and because they care, actually it is like that family thing, isn't it? They're there for kind of through the good and the bad, and I feel like with the board, and unfortunately the last 2 seasons we've had spells where it's been a bit crap, and the board have always been there, the fans have always been there, and kind of support you through that as much as they enjoy the high points with you, which is great.
Yeah, it's enormous pride really to sort of be able to have a position at assistant manager at this football club, because I think it's the fans as well, the amount of volunteers and the hard work that goes into it to make Saturday what it is, and to have an attendance of just short of 500 it's phenomenal. It's second highest in Tameside, isn't it? Considering the clubs that are around us as well, it's the experience that fans are getting when they come, the work that goes onto the pitch and has gone onto the pitch all season is nothing short of. I get a little bit protective when, so I think Neil Dan said it after the game about it being a challenging pitch, and it got I got my back up with it, because I thought, no, we've had 9 games in 3 minutes on that pitch. It's phenomenal, and the hard work that the lads are putting on there in their own time, yeah, consistently. You won't going to get a better deck than that at that time of year.
You should have played it a couple of years ago.
Exactly, that's the bit. It's alright if we can afford to put the 4G down, but we can't. The character and the heart that's in and around the football club, it is. I think we were talking to Steve Porter earlier. You are custodians of a football club, right? And there is great responsibility that you do get it right, because there are people like yourselves that it's your, it's your passion, it's your love, and you want to get things right for the people in the town. And like you pointed out, it's 511,000 in the town. That's minuscule compared to other clubs in our league, and we're doing a lot of things right. And there's a lot of positives this season. It's just disappointing that we didn't probably get to what we put as pressure on ourselves. No one else has put that pressure on us to achieve playoffs.
It's strange to think about expectations. I think expectations have shifted over the last couple of years because of what we've achieved and where we've finished. And if you step back and think about where the club really is and the history of the club, this is our level. Yeah. I think we're now expectations starting to shift, that we should be a playoff side, we should be challenging for promotion, we should be looking to get into the Premier League. And that's great, because that ambition is what you want. There's an element of realism you have to feed into that, and it's a difficult thing to achieve, but that ambition is what you want to see, and you want everything moving in the same direction on and off the pitch. And it's part of the plan. There's always this talk of 5-year plan when I took over, and depending on how I'd want to address it, right at the end of year 3 or year 2, depends what I do with COVID, yeah. But we're moving in the right direction, both on and off the pitch. Attendances have gone up, facilities are better, and the changing rooms we're in now are so much better than when I came into the club. Everything's just improving, and we're starting to see that we've seen it on the pitch as well, and we've seen it married up, and I think we can achieve something really, really great at this club because everybody wants it and everybody's pulling in the same direction and everybody's supporting it. We just need to have a little bit of consistency and learn the lessons. Alex pulled out a few, being a bit more proactive about changing shape and not reacting to things so late, and think about how we manage the squad. We've talked a lot this season about the size of squad. We're not going to be able to sign 25 players on the first day of the season, but think of how we can utilise some of the relationships we've got to maybe pull on loan players a bit quicker, maybe dual register some players and look at some other things we can do there just to keep things fresh. But the aim is to improve next year in what I think will be another tough league.
Do you take? I suppose there's two questions really off the back of what both of you just said. But first of all, do you feel the weight of expectation? Like you said, you're custodians of the club. You're here to make sure that it's still here after you've gone, and the same way that everyone behind the scenes is. But do you feel the weight of expectation of that based off what you see other clubs locally and in the league do? So I think that probably one of the biggest things about what we've achieved, everything that you've just listed off there, is it's been done sustainably. That the long-term future of the club isn't in jeopardy. And a few seasons ago it was before you'd started. And I think you look at what you've got out of the pair of you've got out of the players on what most people wouldn't realise is not a top half budget. And there's a lot of talk about budgets in lots of managers' interviews, but you don't talk about it because you just coach your players and get the best out of your players.
It bores me. Talk of budget just bores me. I just think, you've got the hand that you've got the hand that you've got.
You accept the hand. It's not even like the hand you dealt. You accept it. You agree with the board, and that's what you work within. And if as a manager and a coaching team, you believe you can find the right players of the right calibre and improve them, and I think we've got a good track record of that. And a lot of that's due to Alex and the way he coaches players. We've seen players who improve. Devon Matthews, Freddie Sass. I think we've got this philosophy of trying to bring good young players through, improve them, and see them progress up through the leagues. That's how you set up. That's your philosophy. If you want to be a checkbook manager, go and find a club who'll give you a big blank checkbook to work with. Otherwise, you've accepted the role, live with it, and work within it, and don't cry when it doesn't pan out for you.
I think we've used the second least players in the league. I think Newcastle Town used less than us. I might be wrong. But it's trying to build an environment that budgets are what they are. You know what they are by signing up, and people would be astounded if they knew what we have. But we don't go on about it. It is what it is. We try and get good players in. We try and get good people in. Create an environment where people can prosper, dip into the lower market for people, give them a good chance. Not just one game and get rid. It's give them a good chance, but and coach them and just build relationships, and that's the biggest thing. And just probably teams that have got relegated, just big talks about budgets and things like that, and it astounds me because there's a lot. In my opinion, don't get me wrong, money brings success, 100%.
Yeah.
But you need to define what success is, because if this club's growing and growing and growing, which it is, and it has to be sustainable. It has to be sustainable for everyone in the future.
There's a high correlation between budgets and league position, but it's not a perfect correlation. So it's how do you break that? You break that either by successfully coaching and recruiting players, or the exact opposite. I think we're doing it the right way. I think we're bringing the right players in who fit the way we want to play, who fit the personalities that we want to bring in, who fit into our dressing room. We're creating a great environment. We're coaching them the right way. We're supporting them the right way. They love him playing in front of the fans. That's that community feel, and therefore you get more than you invest back out of them. Other clubs clearly haven't quite been able to achieve that.
But it's a good feeling to see what's happened over the last few years. I think people probably don't realise how close we were to not being around to where we are now. Being a team, like you said, talking of going for the playoffs, but doing it the right way. The most pleasing thing is probably on the pitch things are going well, but off the pitch things are going just as well. The investment into the club that we're making the right way, that we're we're trying to make the infrastructure better all the time. We've invested in the pitch this year, which was the right thing to do. And like you said, it's been able to hold. I mean, you would never have that pitch would have been cut to pieces 2 years ago because we just didn't have the facilities to do that.
Drains too well now.
Yeah, exactly. But it must be a great feeling to see that. So I think that sort of sums up the season gone for me, for you guys hopefully. But then it'd be the right thing to do to talk about what next season looks like. I guess on the pitch, you said in your interviews you'd like to keep the bulk of the squad together. And I know that work's ongoing on that, but obviously we know we've got a rough idea of what the league looks like next year. We've got a couple of local derbies with Celtic getting relegated and Avro coming up, that make for some interesting games next season across the board. And to be fair, if you're asking for big crowds, you probably won't get much bigger than Celtic, Mosley here or at Bowerfold next year. There'll be massive games. So it's a good fixture to have back on the calendar. We always play that pre-season friendly, and it's always well supported. But it must be good.
6-team swing in the leagues.
Yeah,
a big shift. It's a big shift, and just from some of the things that we know, some clubs inquiring or signings or whatever's happening, that there's a lot of teams that are going to go for it. But it's exciting. It's going to be a really good season to be part of. I don't think anyone's going to run away with it like Matt did. But I think there's teams in there that there's, Dempsey, Clitheroe mentioned. What their ambitions for next season.
Yeah.
It's not short of winning the league, which fair play.
Yeah, McNabb's going to be so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a proven winner with a good club.
Avro have done enormously well what they've achieved
Yeah.
and how they've achieved it. I don't think they're certainly not going to just try and make the numbers up or survive. And Frosty said that in his interview.
Vauxhall Hosts have ambition to get back to where they've been before, got a great setup down there, so it's not like we've got teams coming into the league being promoted either. It was sides who were just happy to be in the Northern Premier League, the sides who want to go and make waves and make strides in it. So I think it will be probably a tighter league. I don't think that sides running away with it quite the same way, but it will be probably as maybe even more competitive than this season.
I think one thing we haven't mentioned was we did well with recruitment and how quick we did our recruitment last year. To be able to start pre-season, other than the obvious loans, with the bulk of the squad that we've got, and we've rarely brought anyone in through the season. There's pros and cons to that. The pros, obviously, you can work with the same amount of players for a longer period of time. The cons are when everyone undoubtedly picks up injuries, you are trying to find someone. Talking about idea putting Vanny at centre half. It's difficult. We need to replicate that this summer. We have to. We're working really hard at the moment to get our recruitment done.
You made a really good point the other day, and I can't remember a time this has happened before where if you look at the squad photo that we took at the beginning of the season, all by one player finished the season with us on our books.
Wow.
And that, I can't ever remember having seen that. We've added to it. We've added a couple of players here to it, but none of those players have left or gone off in a sulk because they weren't getting football. Everybody was still in that picture, and that's something to be definitely proud of.
And that is an achievement. It is an achievement to have the bulks, and like I mentioned, there's Sam Twist and Will Hartson that have gone off to Ireland to get minutes. We've brought Ben Richardson back in, but really, predominantly we've always stuck with a 15 that we trusted. And well, at the end of the day, we're 4 points off, 5 points off. That's what we were. It's not enormous, but it's not enough. And as I say, the league table don't like it. We eventually weren't good enough to do it, but we got a lot of things right this season. It's just probably going to take me a bit more time to stop being miserable about it and realise that we've done all right.
It was a good season. It's filled with more positive than negative. I don't think there's much negative to say really, but I think those games, like we've talked about, some of those games that stand out. There've been some great moments. I think you speak to most people off the pitch, they'd say, well, having spoke to a lot of them, they've loved every second of the season.
You mentioned earlier expectations, and you said you feel expectation around the custodian, and I really did. I think that's huge about the club. I think my philosophy is you've got to leave a club better than the minute you walk in the door. I did that at Rochdale St Clements, I did that at Chadderton, and it would go eventually at some point when we move on from Mosley to do that with Mosley. So that's an expectation. I think that's a valid expectation. The other expectation is what we do on the pitch and what we achieve. And I think that's where we put more expectations on ourselves than everybody else out there. We want to be successful. I want to win games of football. I want to get promoted, and Alex is exactly the same. Rages when he doesn't play football. I have to decide whether he's give him a cuddle or stay away from him. He's a fine line.
Yeah.
But that's a good mentality. It's a mentality that's starting to be creative with the players in the dressing room. It's a big reason why I want to keep the bulk of the squad together. So our expectations are high. That's why I think we're probably feeling more disappointed than a lot of fans who can focus on the highs. We still haven't quite met the expectations we set for ourselves. But it's not to say there aren't a lot of positives. They certainly will be in over the summer when I eventually get to put my feet up after the whole calls on recruitment. And I reflect on that. I'm sure I'll focus on the highs much more than anything else.